Oh my goodness. Seriously, I have to just do it. It's like I can tell myself I don't have to think about things that don't matter.
I was designed to do those things. How the hell does this guy know this about me?
It's impossible to not see.
When Dan read for my sister, she was like, he's psychic. She's like, how did you know that?
Yes.
She's like, it's human design, guys. Like, it's just a testimony of how legit it is.
Seriously, Danny was like FBI or CIA. He's like, how the hell does this guy know this about me?
Having my chart read, there were just thing after thing after thing that I was just like, wow, that's me.
This man is reading me and I've never met him before.
I was in the midst of one of the biggest emotional waves I've ever been in my life, and he saved my life.
It seems like everybody has the same reaction. It's that aha moment, and they want to find out more. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Human Design Advantage podcast. My name is Jen, and decoding the matrix for us is Danny Guru.
Jennifer, it's nice to see you. Happy Sunday to you.
Happy Sunday to you, Dan. How are you today?
I'm feeling a lot better. Guess
That
I was
is
under the weather.
Yes. Well, I'm really glad that you are feeling better and that we're doing the Sunday show. So I know headaches are no fun.
Too, so that's cool.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, before we dive in, today is October 16th, 2022, and we are on episode number 23, which is the Ajna Awareness in Human Design. So if you want to follow along with the charts, make sure to check the description down below or above wherever you're viewing this. There are PDFs uploaded so that you can see the images better because sometimes it's too small on the phone. So that's available to you. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show and share this out and comment. We've been reading your comments and been getting messages, and we've been responding to what you guys are posting. So with that said, before we dive in, make sure you guys are booking your session with Dan if you want to really dive into what your chart is, what your design is, and your analysis so that we can get started. And don't forget, I just popped up the links. We have a 5-day virtual retreat coming up on the 24th. That's going to be a big, massive masterclass on how to balance the 4 key areas of your life using all sorts of different tools, including human design, and what you can do to go through your process and the deconditioning and start living authentically on how you were created. So if that's interesting to you, make sure to click the link down below. Everything is in the comments. For all events, check our event calendar. That's now posted as well. You can always find out what's going on outside of anything that we are announcing. Also, me and Dan are going to be doing a mindful eating masterclass according to your human design coming up in November on the 4th. So we are all designed to eat a specific way. We're going to dive in how you can find that out yourself and what you can do about it, and how to mindfully eat, building a relationship with your food. Really being present in that moment is what this class is all about. It's not a diet class. It's not counting calories or anything like that. It's really learning how you yourself, how you can find out yourself, how you are supposed to eat and digest food.
Yeah, how you're meant to take in the nutrition. It's really what it's about, how you're meant to take it in, not about the nutrition itself.
Yes, and mindfully eat. So I'm really looking forward to the things that we have coming up. Plus, we have some other things that we will be talking about coming this November. We've been busy bees behind the scenes, so stay tuned for that.
I have a little announcement to make. It's just we had a real success story last night.
Okay.
I read for a very nice couple, and neither of them had their body graphs read to them before, like in any kind of extent, in any kind of exhaustive way, well, really at all. And so this will be about the 3rd or 4th time I was able to read for a couple. Something's blinking on my side. I don't know what that is, but
It's been blinking on my side. I don't think that they can see it on the front, but it's been driving me nuts too. I don't know why. I'll be reaching out to StreamYard about that.
So as I was reading for them, this will be the third or fourth time now where I read for a couple that I didn't have to read their charts independently beforehand. The recommendation on all partnership analysis, mostly with couples, and but any kind of partnership analysis, any two people, it becomes this beast with two backs, right? This merging of people, they become something other than what they were separately. And so normally I have to read them separately, but this is again the third or fourth time that I will have gotten through somebody, and from the beginning through to the end, boy, did they see how helpless they were as it relates to what the other wants of them. And as I was making them see it, they all went through this whole range of emotion, witnessing it. One of them was a skeptic. Usually the dude is a skeptic and the missus is the one tugging them along by the ear saying, you have to hear this. And common story, right? Throughout all the time. And anyways, he was not a skeptic. It didn't take long at all. And they all stayed in it. In fact, we ran out our time. The last 2 minutes were no longer on the recording anymore because we ran out our full 2 hours, which is my recording max. And it was really good. So couples too. Book your reading for the two of you. Just come open.
Yeah. Real quick, I'm going to pop Savannah on. Hey, Savannah.
Hi, how are you guys?
Great. How are you today?
Good. I was just listening to Dan's story and I love that so much. Because that's how it was for me and my husband. We had a lot of struggle.
You're one of them.
Say, what was that?
You're one of them, Savannah.
Yes, and it really did transform our marriage and our relationship, and it helped us understand each other. And seriously, I feel like you could, not to diss on therapy. I think therapy is so wonderful and it's helped so many people. I just feel like human design, it can get you results quicker than therapy because you have this stranger telling you everything about yourself and your partner, and it's like, he doesn't know us. How does he know this? And so it's almost like there's someone, the therapist there, who already knows everything about them, how they work, what their love language is. And you can have that pretty much that stranger tell their partner what they need. And
right.
And then the partner confirms it. And so to me, I feel like it's a testament to human design and how accurate it is. And it was
so adorable, Savannah, because each partner was recognizing what I would talk about one person, and that one person would be like, well, some a little bit, because there's a lot of red definition. They're not sure. But the other partner's playing yeah, no, I see what you're saying. And it happened both back and forth over and over. That's the norm. So if you're a couple and you come open and you're having any kind of struggles, you come open and receptive. You had something that made you in love in the first place. You made kids, maybe all of this stuff, been married for a couple years or many years. There's something there. Don't throw it away. Let's get that partnership reading underway, because I don't mind saying it. I put therapy to shame. They take a year just to get into the nuts and bolts of so many things. And then they have guesswork as to what exercises to undergo with each other. And not that there's anything wrong with these things, but they are guesswork. They're guessing. And when you get your design read, we're not guessing.
I was going to say it must be in the air, because one of my friends, I want to eventually have her on the show, Lexi, her channel's Biohacking, if you guys want to check it out. I don't know if she's booked a session with you, but she reached out to me and was asking about a couple questions with human design. So I was able to kind of show her and her husband and just give tips. And I was like, book with Dan. And she actually made a post today, tagged me in it, and was like, just the information you gave me, because her husband was a projector and she was a manifester. So I was like, okay, this is how y'all should be communicating or waiting. He wants to offer information. He needs to wait until you come to him, because you may be rejecting it because he's offering it, vice versa. And she was like, we haven't had an argument all week.
It's just a thing, because once you see it, it's just like parents watching their little generator children respond. Once the parent really realizes that that's their truth, suddenly little responses that would have seemed like no big deal suddenly become a great big deal. Oh my God, that was a response out of my child. And then suddenly the parent will realize, maybe I don't want to make this new rule for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what happens. It's not about letting the kid get away with mayhem. It's about witnessing, where are your real boundaries with that kid, with that child. Very often you loosen up things.
It's very beneficial. Relationships, romantic relationship, family relationship, friend relationships, and even business. But
Yeah.
I'm really happy to hear that happened.
It was so good, Jen. We ran out our 2 hours and the recording stopped going. And I was talking faster at the end because I could see I was down to the last few seconds before it would stop recording.
And I love those recordings because sometimes it's like on that first phone call, it's just so much information, and sometimes it can feel kind of overwhelming. So I love that you record it and you send it, because then I was able to listen to, you did the reading for my husband, and I listened to it 2 times, and it really did like solidify so many things and help me understand him on a deeper level. And then also with your own chart reading, right? Like going back and listening to it just helps you process and take in that information of the session. So I love that you do that.
Yeah, you get so much more a second and even a third time when you listen back to it. It's really it's so much better than going to therapy for hours and weeks and every week and not knowing.
Yeah, and it's also cheaper. Like I feel like human design, it's like you get more results quicker and it's more affordable than therapy. Right. And I know, like, I was talking to my friend, and like therapists have waiting lists, and so she was having to wait. And so I'm like, dude, just call Dan, set up an appointment.
You're exactly right. Because through my lifetime, I was in and out of doctors, psychiatrists, therapists, all sorts of kind of things, trying to figure out what was wrong with me and why I was feeling a certain way. And it literally was human design that made sense of everything that was happening inside of me, and the tools that I did learn in therapy, which are self-help tools. It's not just a therapy that offers them. There's plethora of coaches that offer amazing programs to help you. But it was that one thing that really just unlocked it. And I was able to apply all these tools that I had learned along the way that worked for me. So
it's the application. It really, really is. And speaking of all this couple stuff and just general integration with one another, today's subject is the Ajna Center, an awareness center. Now, we've done the awareness centers. We went around the horn, but this time we're going backwards, because the last few weeks before, we did a lot on the solar plex, because this solar plex center is waking up in us. I mean, it is truly waking up. So we covered that in a great extent. And what pulls us away and distorts all of that beautiful awareness is in the center that we're dealing with today, the Ajna Center. So we have these, can I jump right in, Jen? We good?
What was that, Dan?
I'm about to jump right into today's topic.
I'm about to share my screen.
So with our Ajna Center, this is at the top of the body graph. It's the triangle pointing down above.
Do you want the body graph first?
Sure, do the larger body graph first. So you can see that there's these sort of streams. Notice the awareness centers are in blue. The solar plex on the right, the spleen on the left, and then what I call the toy box, the Ajna, the concept center. They all have a very particular wavelength. And if you notice in this diagram, you'll see, even though it's the solar plex that's waking up, it's the spleen and the solar plex that really have the most power in a way, because look, they go right through the sacral. Still, all arrows keep pointing back to the mind, to this conceptualizing center that we think is really the end all and be all of who we are, and it's not. And if you stand back and just look at this picture, the dark blue centers, they look like a vortex. They make a trinity. They make 3 forms of awareness that we need to navigate this plane with one another. And the solar plex, the newest one that is truly, like I said, waking up in our time, this solar plex center is still getting drowned out by the fact that for 100,000 years, we were a spleen and a mind. The left-hand center, immediate body's awareness, so that's instinctual, smell, it's what it senses in its environment, and it's immediate. You guys both have that. I don't. And then there's this mind on top that grabs it and holds on to it over all of time. So what we're going to do is really parse out the various frequencies in which these things are working in. We've dealt with it a lot. The spleen is immediate. It would like little bops. You know, if you ever watch an old World War II movie where all that flak is showing up on the plane, those are splenic hits. Boom, 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 boom. They're happening all the time. As you navigate through the world, your spleen is constantly, it smells this, feels that, senses that, intuits this, has all this stuff, immediate. And it's easy to ignore. The mind, so that's its frequency. Its frequency is instantaneous. It's a pulse. It's in the moment. That's the frequency of it. So it's like, again, like flak over shooting at planes or a video game that, it's got things coming at you one quickly. The mind is just this steady straight line. Its frequency is from birth to death. It just holds on to things over all of time. Yeah. Right? Hey, I remembered how to read and write when I was in first, second, and third grade. Well, hey, I held on to that over all of that's mind. Mind holds on to the facts that we come to determine. It also changes its mind on the facts as we learn new material because it held on to it over all of time. That's real handy, right? That's super handy. We need to hold on to things through all of time.
Depends on what you're holding on to. I will say that some people will hold on to,
everybody. This mind is holding on to everything that ever sucked, and it's not supposed to. The mind is truly supposed to work in tandem with these two centers below. It's supposed to work very much like the spleen. And so when the mind has a sudden fear, okay, the fear comes and the fear goes. And mind will get to work measuring things, but it's still your strategy and authority that tells you what's true. So in that way, it can work like the spleen and still hold on to it over all of time. It can check back in a year later and say, oh, I remember when. Good mind. Thank you, mind. That's what you're here for. You're not here to hang on to that fear and then suddenly start to think, I need to do something about that as it relates to decision making, and then suddenly anxiety, and then suddenly confusion and doubt, and the trauma of not being able to rationalize what you think you know and aren't sure what you know. That's what this mind is doing to us, whether it's defined or not. And then the solar plex on the far right, its frequency is in a wave. It's literally just up and down over time. So that's not birth to death, and that's not in a pulse. It's totally different, and it's different from what we're used to, so much so that it gets drowned out again by the mind. The mind just distorts what goes on in our solar plex center, and it starts to try to use its faculty to blame something, or worse, to come up with a reason. Both of them are just as bad. Oh, this is because of that. And it's like, no, this is because your chemistry gave it to you. It's not something you actually have to necessarily do something with. If you're emotional, wait out your wave. If you're splenic, listen to your spleen. If you're a generator, what's your response to it? We have these strategies that interface with our body's chemistry, and none of them have anything to do with the mind. Not one bit. Savannah, I bet you got something to say.
Oh.
Or maybe not.
Oh, no. Just I love going over these awareness centers because, each of them has like a nervousness or a fear or an anxiety, right? And like what is just plaguing so much of our society? Everyone's struggling with depression. Everyone's struggling with anxiety, and no one knows what to do about it. People don't know, like, why am I this way? Like, why do I have this anxiety? And so like my sun gate 11, right? Whatever's in your sun is what you project out most to the right. world, and a big part of your personality, right? So my sun personality gate is in the Ajna. And so it helps explain like why I have this fear of sharing, or why I overshare my ideas, right? Because gate 11 is the gate of ideas. And so
the fear
all
of
my life. What was that?
It's sort of the fear of darkness, of this fear of your ideas not reaching the light.
Yes. This fear of, not having something stimulating to think about and nothing to talk about or share these concepts of ideas to share with other people. And also,
or it's not good enough. How about that one? I got it, but I can't tell if it's good enough. It might not be good enough.
Yeah, so gate 11, we tend to overshare, share things with people who aren't interested in the same things we are, but we're just like, blah, like, here, I'm going to share this with you, even though you're not open to it, right? And then add on top of that, like, I'm a projector, so I want to share even more what I see and what I read. And so it's made me experience a lot of rejection. And so it made me question my worth and made me question like that my ideas are stupid or that I don't matter, and so by learning the fears of each of the gates in the Ajna, the awareness Ajna Center, it helped me to like realize like, okay, that's why I'm like that. And it's not that my ideas don't have value. It's just that I need to wait to be invited to share my ideas. And so that way, when I do share them, they're valued by people,
Right.
so it's helped rebuild this sense of my self-worth and my value in myself, and to realize what a gift, right? Like Gate 11 is the teacher. They make really
Totally.
good teachers because we love talking and sharing about ideas and concepts and belief systems, and sharing it out with people to improve their life and expand their awareness and expand their consciousness. And so it helps me to know what my gifts are, and
Right.
what's the best strategy to use my gifts, and so I can have the greatest success. So anyway, sorry, that was a big long blurb. I don't know if
Well, our design becomes our superpower. Once we realize these things, we realize what our superpowers are. They're earthly superpowers, guys. You're not going to be able
Yes.
to jump over a building in a single bound or all of that. They're our own personal superpowers, the stuff that bring us right back into alignment. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see all of this stuff going on with the Ajna Center. So this Ajna Center, triangle pointing down, look at all this work it's doing. And remember, fears and anxieties aren't bad. What we do with them are bad. We're supposed to have a sudden anxiety. It's like, what's that behind me? Okay, that's a good idea. Have that anxiety because something might be behind you. Once it's not there, okay, good, it's gone. If it is there, do something about it. Your mind will help measure what to do. Mind is there to measure. It's not there to tell us what's true. So you've got, along the top, you've got realization. This is a conceptualizing process. You've got rationalization. Again, these are genetic products inside our body affixed to various codons, the codons that are the building blocks that build our genome, and they are vibrating up to the surface our need to rationalize. This is a unique human way. Awareness, gate 4, just answers, the awareness of answers and formulas. So to realize something is to go through a heavy process that's pressured by confusion. To rationalize something is to go through a heavy process that's pressured by not knowing and mystery because it doesn't know. And that's in the moment. And then to go through answers to be pressured by doubt. So our body gives us the pressure to doubt, to be confused, and to not know, and find a mystery. Oh my God, this is a mystery. And then suddenly that conceptualizing center returns to the mystery over and over again, trying to come up with a new rationale, a new knowing and understanding of it, so that it can spit out its new knowing. And it's the same thing with the two gates on the other side. They're trying to go through their process to then pressure the conceptualizing that spits out down below. I mean, if you look at it, it's a beautiful symmetry. You got, 3 cannons along the top that are just basically bombarding us with the pressure, with what was the pressure to conceptualize. And then you've got it spitting out of the ajna in the form of something that turns into what we speak. So we were always designed to be speaking creatures. We can't help it. And along the bottom, what have you got? You've got opinions, you've got insights, and you've got ideas. Well, ideas are always of the seeker, and the seeker tries to be the finder. And sometimes the seeker finds. Very often the seeker needs to find their joy in the process of seeking. And the finding either comes or it doesn't. So think of how crazy Gate 11 will drive people when they're seeking, not finding. Sound familiar, Savannah?
Yeah, and then add on top of that with Gate 11 and my son, add on that I'm a 1-3 profile, right?
Yeah.
So those ones are constantly investigating and digging and searching. So I got a ton of this Gate 11 energy and constantly seeking. And you have it too, don't you, Jen?
I have the whole channel.
Yep.
I
Jen
have
has
the
that
whole-
whole channel. And
have
part
the
of it's
whole channel.
unconscious, as I recall. So you're not always.
It is unconscious. On the opposite, what's the opposite gate? 56, is that
56.
correct?
Yep.
Yeah, the opposite, that's conscious.
So Jennifer's aware that she's got stimulating stuff that she wants to speak, but then when the ideas come along, sometimes there's such aha moments that they come out of nowhere because the body gave you the chemistry for it. All of this stuff is a chemistry. Jen, you don't plan out your aha moments, you experience them.
Every time, and sometimes it comes out like when I'm talking.
Right.
I think we did that last night, like, you know, and it's, now that I'm bringing awareness to it, sometimes when that happens, I feel like a rush to get it out. And sometimes it's like interrupting the conversation. We could be having a serious conversation, and it's like I change the subject because this one thing has come through and I just need to get it out.
Right. And so these are things to get out. It's what we're supposed to do. So 47 going.
Oh, wait, Dan, can I make a quick comment?
Please, yeah.
So gate 11, like it says on there, they need new and stimulating ideas and concepts. And so what, like, so sometimes, and then also being a 1-3, right? The 3s need change and variation. And so it's like, I get bored reading the same thing over and over. It's like, I need something new and stimulating. And so like, you know, I grew up religious, you know, and so we'd have to read the same thing over and over and over. And I just remember like, it just felt so boring. And so just like, I need something new. I need something stimulating, right? Something to stimulate. And so I always used to feel bad about that. Like, why? Like,
you felt restricted?
Yeah, I felt like not stimulated, right? Like gate 11 is constantly looking for new things to stimulate their mind with. And I guess you could maybe even say maybe like a little bit like ADD, right? Like
right.
I need new stimulation, these new concepts, and then we want to share it with others to kind of stimulate other people. So sometimes I've been dubbed as like a you know, like the learners. There's like experiential, and then there's like talking, hearing. You're a hearing learner, you know. And so gate 11 made it so I am kind of an auditory learner. And I learned through hearing a concept and then sharing and like expressing it out. And so I think that's why this is fun, right? Like in human design. Fun
and
learning.
When you're explaining it, Savannah, when you're explaining it, you're doing what gate 11 and 17 want to do more than anything. They want to get people to see a picture.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Do you get it? Do you see it? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also nice because gate 11 is the experiential side, right? So, and gate 17 is the logical, you know, facts and everything like that. So I like to share also my experiences, the belief systems and ideas that I've hashed out throughout my life, and I want to share them with other people. And so, sorry, I've kind of already talked a lot about this.
Well, just so, and the openness there. So whether it's defined or open, it sort of creates a slightly different flavor to what you'll experience in that gate. When it's defined, it's always on. These things are pouring out. So you're like a dog on a chain waiting to share your ideas. When it's open, you're feeling insecure because other people are constantly walking into your aura, defining it for you, and suddenly they're there. And then when you're all by yourself, you're really just with the experience of all the ideas that have gone before you. And new stuff can only creep in really on your own. When you're just really by yourself, new things can creep in. When you're with other people, partly their things are what's creeping in. That would be confusing. As a child, that would be confusing. And suddenly your mind takes you away from your nature. It starts trying to think that it thinks it's what knows what's true. So let's run through.
I will also say, like, gate 11, it's like I hate not having something to listen to. It's like I have to be listening to a podcast or listening to music or listening, you know, it's like that emptiness where there's a void where I'm not being given some new idea, new stimulating concept.
Imagine if someone thought that was a problem.
Yeah.
Imagine if you thought that was oh my God, I have this problem. I can find ADD and various psychological determinations in almost all of these awareness gates. Or, whatever you labels for. In the psychological world, I can find them and intuit them within the groups of the awareness centers. Yep.
And then just one more thing I was going to say. It says gate 11 also, it's like sometimes we look to other people to give us the ideas to kind of like solve our problems. We kind of look to other people to give us the ideas and concepts to kind of like improve our life. And that's totally been true for me, is sometimes I don't go within to kind of like get my answers.
Now that you know that that's a process, what you can, I mean, one of the things about that being a process, because you have an open ajna, it's nothing wrong with allowing other people to be part of this abstract process of your idea setting. It is your sun, it's driving you, in your personality sun, it's first line. That's always good. So sometimes it does let other people in, but knowing it means, oh, if I have no new ideas, I'll wait till my husband comes home. So I'll wait till my kids have pestered me again enough, and suddenly I'll come up with something. So you start to realize it's not your problem. It's just, we're all waiting, guys.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, is that a theme of the not self theme? Because I had that before where, now, like with the Gate 11, I'll do that. Like I'll watch other people get inspiration, but I'm constantly going in and confirming with what's coming in from inside. So
Absolutely.
can that be a characteristic of the not self theme?
Well, yeah, the biggest characteristic of this center, what takes us away from our nature, is its desire for certainty. That's the old seven-centered way, when we were just a spleen and an ajna, before the solar plex the sleeping giant started to awaken, before the phoenix started to awaken. The solar plex is the phoenix that is awakening in us. It's a great big deal, but the mind is disturbing it.
But Jen's also defined in her ajna, but I'm not.
Yeah, that too.
So could that be why I kind of am constantly searching other people's ideas to make sense of what's going on internally?
Yes, all day. And now you could have seen that as a weakness once upon a time. Oh my God, I need the other. And now you can be it as like, oh, I got a Rolodex. Who will I suck some ideas out of next? You know what I mean? It can be fun. It's like, where will my mind go next? You're open to all the ideas. Jen and I have defined head ajnas. We're fixed with our ideas. You know, we become, once you're defined, that's a very narrow thing. You become narrowly a certain way that you can, count on.
I'm fixed on the people, but I do the same thing, Savannah. I mean, still, but when I am following people, before I would get lost in that, and looking at other people's, or just researching, because I am the investigator too. I would kind of get lost in it, but I get fixed, where I'm seeing the divine happen now, is I have a set of people that I've already investigated and intuitively confirm that they're people that, okay, that's a great idea, or whatever I'm doing with the person. So I am very fixed on who I am.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, we were like staying on Gate 11. Sorry, I have so much to say about Gate 11. Okay, well, just one other thing. I remember reading Gate 11 that they tend to remember the good from an experience. Like they tend to hold
white. It's white. It's a white energy, if you want to look at it that way in mystical terms. It very much just wants the love and joy to be great. That's what our idea is. Think about how that ties into our human way, what we're supposed to do. It's the light, the gate of white light, I would call Gate 11 very often, because it wants what you just said, Savannah. Let's see what this, within the stream of awareness, this abstract stream of awareness that's experienced.
Are you going to finish the other gates?
I am. I'm going to go up to Gate 47. So we're going to sort of go back and forth a little.
Okay.
Gate 47 up at the top left, this gate of oppression, this gate of realization. It's got a fear of futility, and what it's doing on the top of the ajna is it's catching confusion, the pressure to sort through confusion. I have it as well. It's unconscious in me. In that confusion, it seems oppressive, because it seems like this is futile. Suddenly we realize, I'm never going to get out of this. There's too much stuff. I'm going over too much stuff from the past. And then the mind gets a hold of that and can't figure out what certainty it does or doesn't have. And in that lack of certainty, it thinks it's a problem, and boom, it disorganizes the awareness of the other two centers. The other two centers are supposed to be unique, independent awareness centers, giving us information that we see independently of the ajna. But the ajna casts its dark cloud, like Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab trying to block out the sun, and it casts its dark cloud on everything, because it starts to concern itself with certainty. And in this case, it's the fear of futility and the certainty it definitely can't seem to come to. Pointless, unfulfilling, the struggle to make sense of past experiences, which can lead to mental anxiety over it. if you have this channel in your body graph that has 4764, you know, now you can know that as the confusion comes in, you're just going to have to wait. Your body's actually going through this amazing process that's going to give something so unique, and it needs gate 11 to spit it out as an idea. It needs gate 11. So Savannah, you and I, when we're talking on the phone, we're a natural design to just come to the idea, because on the other side of that stream of awareness, with my channel up there coming through gate 47, as soon as you feel the oppressive futility of what this gate does to you when your mind is involved, as soon as it feels oppressive and you start to experience your not self theme of your type, anger, bitterness, frustration, disappointment, when all this starts to happen, then you can realize, oh, whoa, calm down. As always, I have a technique. As always, I take either a conscious breath or two with my hand on my heart, or I start doing something with my hands. You just do something with your hands, or start reading something if you've got whatever it is you can do to basically pull yourself off of that. Wash the dishes, you know, go pick some plants, twiddle your thumbs. I don't care what you do. I play the piano, so I have that. It's you know, something I can do at any given time to just take me away. But do something with your hands.
So why is that? So why is it doing something? Is it because it's an experiential channel?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Okay.
Well, actually, doing something with your hands, because touch and the sense of touch through your hands act like a second pair of eyes and ears, if you think about it, but eyes especially. You see so much with your hands without ever looking at it. So you do something with your hands, and suddenly it takes the rhythm of whatever was going on in your head center and the noise and the racket of the uncertainty, and it makes it have to go away because you're focused in the now. It brings you to the now. That's
I love that. That makes sense why, like, knitting.
Yep.
I've heard people like doing knitting is like
Hours.
very
And while they're knitting, they're not knitting. They're doing something else.
Yes, that's why I kind of took up cross stitching.
Yes, Jen. Anything, yeah.
'Cause I have the channel of the 47 and then through the 11. So while y'all are talking about that, I'm wondering if that's kind of how my energy is.
All day long, because it's trying to do something with this incredible pressure that comes off the head center that sits above it. It's a dynamic, moving pressure to be inspired, to translate our existence. That's what the head center does. And it pours that pressure into this conceptualizing neocortex we have called our Ajna, where our personality sort of really works through. It works through this. And so that's why we think it's who we are, and it's not.
So Dan, with gate 47, would you say those people might struggle if they have it hanging with like depression?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's anxiety, mental anxiety over the feeling of either one of those gates in that stream. Even if they have a 64 that sits above it, they still struggle with confusion and or the oppressiveness of too many details, too much stuff, too muchness. I can't make sense of this stuff. It's too much.
Well, because Dan, when I look at my whole family's charts together, that's the one gate we're missing is gate 47. So I have gate 64 on the other side of 47, but so how would that kind of translate? Like, sorry, I'm kind of taking this one step too far.
Well, your family would end up very often feeling disadvantaged in being able to realize and have the full aha moment of what was supposed to be had. Your family can have mental anxiety over exactly what this fear is, even though you don't have the gate. This feeling that life is oppressive and the details are too many and that it's futile, pointless, and unfulfilling. So everyone's pointing at the gate you don't have. The whole family is at times focused on what it's not, just like the people are. Yeah. We're always focused on what we're not. That's our not self. That's who we are not. And when you have an open Ajna center, that is focusing on your lack of certainty. And you try to do things to become certain. And you try to pretend that you're certain to yourself. And you get incredible anxiety when you get called out for what you're not certain about if you thought you were certain. If you concerned yourself with a certainty over all of that. And it's so full and rich and dynamic with our old seven-centered way over all the things we could have our certainty about. Now, it doesn't mean people with a defined head and ajna don't have that same thing. What we have it is we have it on overdrive because it never turns off. We're still just as uncertain as anyone else. It's just that when we finally have whatever the definition is giving us, suddenly we have a new knowing, a new understanding, a new idea, a new aha moment, a new epiphany, a new realization, like would come through gate 47. And so, Savannah, it would mean that your family is struggling with what new realization did you get out of all of that? Sometimes that would feel like a thing inside your family. It would come and go. It would be intermittent. It would be something hard to hit, like whack-a-mole. But there it is. It would be there. And so as a defined Ajna Center, if you have it defined, you're always thinking, and you've always got these things going through, and you speak in a voice that sounds like you know. It sounds like you're certain. It doesn't mean you're right. It just means that that's the energy that comes out. Humanity has a propensity to have a certain amount of its population have an energy that sounds like certainty. And then it's got the rest of the population, the vast majority, that doesn't have that and wants it. And it creates incredible disturbance to the solar plex center as it's trying to go through its wave, and it totally drowns out the spleen as it's giving you its rapid fire in the moment knowing, so the spleen is so important. It's in the moment awareness, moment to moment, and the solar plex is over time, up and down in a wave. The wave never stays the same because it's moving. It's moving in space and time. Wherever you are one day, it's like the wave goes up and it comes down in a different place, and it goes up and it comes down in a different place. It can never not do that because we are moving through space. We're spinning and we're hurling and we're physically moving ourselves. So open or defined, these are the struggles with this awareness center, and it's plaguing us. We need to get right with it because it's trying to make decisions for us. Because remember, the old way, can you go back to the other slide real quick?
Yeah.
The old way was the spleen on the left and the ajna up top. That was the old way. Our old seven-centered way that wound itself down right around the signing of our Declaration of Independence and leading through the signing of our Constitution. Those two events actually bracket. They are bookends for as our human species was shifting into this nine-centered new being that grew taller and lived longer and had this emotional solar plex truly able to wake up in our lifespan. But that solar plex was nowhere to be heard. It was acting out of craziness, just insanity. Look at the insanity of the past 250 years. World wars, Holocaust. We've managed to murder more people in the past 200 years than 100,000 years of human history could murder times 10.
Oh yeah.
Times 100 maybe. Maybe it's just so much. That's the mayhem of an unaware emotional solar plex wave that's going through hope and pain, and in the pain it kills everything, and in the hope it tries to still conquer everything, and in the pain it kills it, and in the hope it's conquering it. And that's all it knew to do because the mind said, hey, I own it, I conquer it, I have this limited set of concepts, I fear it, I don't fear it, and my guns are bigger than yours, and do I have sex with it, do I kill it, do I invite it for dinner? That's all the mind could do. It would measure its splenic fear. And then when this emotional solar plex came online, mind just had more stuff to be afraid of and now angry at. At least before, it was relatively cool. It wasn't so angry. It was relatively cool about much of its rage and murderous action. It's like, well, hey, nothing personal, but you're dead now. Now it's personal. You're dead. I'm going to rip your head out. So these are ways that we've got to start to get a handle on, to stop letting mind control everything. These are concepts. They're supposed to rip through. If you're open to the concepts. If you're defined, you're generating tons of concepts. What's the big deal? None of them are true necessarily. None of them have to be acted on. We don't know what they are until we live them out. And they're just here to be measurement devices that mark a point in time so that our mind can do what it does. Hang on to that marker. You put a buoy in the water. You threw a number on it. Good. You got a buoy in the water with a number on it. That's all mind does. Hang on to that. Maybe it'll come back later as useful. Maybe not. For God's sakes, don't make decisions based on it. don't go to the track and bet the family fortune on your crazy new idea. It's a great idea. Just don't do it. Whatever. It's your opinion that you're going to be a free national and you did it because you followed the steps and suddenly you get arrested. Yeah, you can be an American state national, but you got to go through all the steps. Let your body be aware of what this is instead of allowing yourself to have your mind make decisions. Mind has one job. It measures this and that. That's it. Once upon a time, it measured this and that and then made a decision for the body, for the king, the queen, the armies, the religions, the marching, the hierarchies. Oh, God, hierarchy. And along came the solar plex center and said, no, wake up, humanity. We're supposed to be unique, individual, emotional creatures that commune with one another. So, sorry for all the turbulence, but mind is definitely not in charge, and it's ruining everything. It's making everything dirty and polluted.
Yes, you are not your mind.
Yep, you are not your mind. It's just all there is to it. If we go back to the other slide, we can see what the other streams of awareness are doing.
Yes.
Let's do 17 and 4 right across from each other. So gate 4.
Can I have a quick question?
Yep.
Is there a reason you're going in that order?
Nope.
I'm just wondering if it's because of the way the energy flows or.
Yeah, I'm going in it because that's how the energy flows through the circuitry. Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. That's why I was wondering, because I can't remember how we started. Then we got on 11, and then I was like, where are we going? So I'm trying to follow how you're going, and was wondering.
Well, 11 naturally went up to 47 because they're in the same circuitry. So 17 and 4
helps.
So we dealt with 4 a little bit. It's called youthful folly. That was the old I Ching name. We call it we updated it to formalization. So gate 4 has this awareness from the doubt pressure above it. That's gate 63 above it in the head center, gives it a doubt. That doubt is a mortal fear. That doubt turns into a mortal fear that the formula won't work. The water won't turn on tomorrow. The markets won't run. The whatever formulas. If the formula breaks down, that can become a mortal fear. Because if it doesn't work, how am I going to feed myself? How am I going to survive, right? Mm-hmm. So the logic is always saying, nope, fix these patterns. Fix these patterns into something that's logical and makes sense. And in the process of fixing the pattern, you have this youthful folly that is immune from prosecution. It can come up with any formula at first before it really is siphoned through. Notice they go across each other. Gate 4 goes down and to the left to go across to gate 17. They crisscross. 47 and 11 make a diagonal, and 4 and 17 make a diagonal. They make an X marks the spot type diagonal. They crisscross each other, and that's on purpose.
So it just the ajna is where the energy crosses over. It's not like that in the head. It just comes in through the head, and then the ajna
is where it crosses. Yep.
Can you explain? Do you know why that is, or it just is?
Well, it's just part of how we genetically mix up.
Okay.
We're genetically meant to cross over things, and
that makes sense.
Yeah, there's 2 main crossover spots.
Isn't that also like how it is in the brain and the eyes?
Yeah.
Like we see it, but then it crosses over, kind of like.
That's beautiful, Savannah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My left-handed friend said, "Hey, if the left hemisphere is in charge of the right side of the body and the right is in charge of the left side of the body, then only left-handed people are in their right mind."
Yeah.
It was cute. I thought that was cute at the time, and it stuck with me. My mind hung on to that over all of time, but I didn't obsess with I must not be in my right mind.
Right.
Imagine if I told that to a 5-year-old who was starting to be fully conditioned, taken away from their nature, and that 5-year-old suddenly got a trip that they're not in their right mind. And you didn't correct that for them because their not self mind started to hold on to it through all of time.
Yeah. Well, isn't it like, I can't remember which side of the brain it is. One part of your brain is like very artistic, experiential, more logical, mathematical.
Left side.
And so it crosses just how it does in the brain and how we process.
So 4 is coming up with formulas, and it just had a pressure from above, doubt. These are genetic structures saying pressure to doubt to translate this existence at this moment. 4 says, here's the formula. Now the formula may be crazy in the moment, but 4 goes through this process of formula that, no, formula this, no, formula that. Now, if it can't think of anything, then if it doesn't have the choice to think of anything across a whole gamut of possibilities, then it's not doing its job. That's why the old I Ching called it youthful folly, because it's like, boy, if I look in there, this thing can think of anything.
Yeah.
It won't stop thinking of anything. And then, but by the time it crosses over to gate 17, look what happens. Gate 17 says it's the following, the gate of opinions. And it's because it literally follows the formula it was just given. And it's in the channel of acceptance. It's got to accept that it's a follower. Opinions aren't there to be the leader of everything. They're there to spit out the formula. And notice gate 17, its harmonic gate on the other side of the throat is metamorphic. It's gate 62, where all the details are.
Yeah.
So
something I think is interesting about gate 4 is they have a fear of chaos. And so it's like they're trying to solve the problem so that they don't experience the chaos. And so, because my husband has gate 4, he has the whole channel, but he does like, it's even like cleaning. Like he doesn't like being in a house where it's all messy and chaotic. And so I didn't know if that was a thing of gate 4, like if it's tied into your environment. Like you don't like chaos, you don't like disorder.
I just thought of something. Can I say it?
Yeah.
Okay. So on a psychological standpoint and physically, if that's happening, the mind, just like we talked about the eyes, the subconscious is picking up the chaos because it's not in order. So the subconscious is really trying to put it in order. So that's why he may be feeling that if he's experiencing anxiety or something like that, because if the energy is switching over in the Ajna Center, which is connected with the eyes, it's probably more magnified for somebody that has that.
Incredibly magnified, Jen, because the measurement of this and that, which is all the Ajna is supposed to do, isn't complete. Yet our thinking mind thinks it's supposed to be correct, complete, and measured by the mind only. So the Ajna is not who we are. It just does the work of who we think we are.
Right.
The who we are is still our personality consciousness, this crystal of consciousness that's filtering the neutrino ocean and driving into us who we think we are. And until it gets in touch with the red definition in our body graph, the design side, the body's definition, and realizes you're in a marriage, the mind is in charge. The mind stays in charge until you start to get that right and start to understand it's not in charge. And chaos wants order. So gate 4 says order, and 17 says, oh, I get it. Let me spit that out in the form of a logical opinion that will identify the order. So these people with this channel can sound like they're opinionated sometimes.
Yeah. So like my husband has the 4 in the whole channel. And so he's constantly writing out his plans for the future. Because that's also isn't the 4 and up. It's about the future and planning and making sure you can prevent problems in the now. So then in the future that everything's orderly and
no chaos.
Yeah, no chaos. Yeah.
Right. No chaos. We want chaos be gone, when really gate 4 is supposed to just be able to ride the chaotic wave until it has the right formula to be able to put into the right concept.
Because if they're not able to like find the solution, solve the problem, then they're going to have mental anxiety over that thing.
And that doubt pressure will get so much, and it will just drive anxiety. And then now their mind is starting to pollute. Again, mind starts to pollute everything with that anxiety, with that fear. The fear of 7 is the fear of challenge. It came up with this idea, and suddenly it's afraid someone's going to challenge it. So it's got to have all its opinions and all its details right in order, and it's got to have all the formulas, or else it'll be challenged. And if someone challenges it, then suddenly their not self mind starts to concern itself with its own certainty. It's just a whole mental cluster that is no good.
It's a mind fuck.
Yeah, it's no good.
Because my husband he's struggled with anxiety, and he's had like panic attacks and things like that. So learning about his gate 4, and he has a defined Ajna, and so I'm like, oh, that makes sense, because they'd be more prone to that pressure and that anxiety over trying to figure things out.
Right. And so let them figure it out, and they start to become aware that I don't have to have all the answers. I'm in a process. The process is figuring it out. I'm still going to wake up tomorrow and go to work and try, and I'm still going to come home and whatever I made, and then I'll go back to trying to figure it out. Instead of identifying with it as the failure in your life. All of these things are afraid of failure in one way, shape, or form. That's what the mind gives us. This fear of splenic failure, gate 32, this fear of the rejection that can come in gate 49, rejected by God himself. You know what I'm saying? All of this stuff comes, the mind amplifies it and tries to say that's what's true, and it can't. You're a generator. What's true is your response. You know, you're a manifestor. What's true is what you're initiating in the moment. And if you're a projector, what's true is where you feel is what you feel as it relates to being recognized, or what you recognize. So Savannah, with an open ajna, you're constantly recognizing new things.
Yeah.
If I wasn't speaking to your open ajna, I would have no new recognitions of anything. I would be stuck in my own fixed trip of whatever my definition is. We need our open centers to continue to recognize what the beauty of these centers are, because the people who are the wisest about concepts are the folks that are open. You guys are the most literate. You know, you read the most books, you dig into the most various concepts, and a lot of that is a very logical process, going from gate 4, figuring it out, to gate 7, spitting it out with all these details that are right below. So that's the stream of awareness. Our logical it wants to understand. So we've done 2 streams. We've done the understanding collective stream of awareness. It just wants to know. It wants to understand. It wants to have an understanding that makes a solution it can identify with. And the other stream, 47 down to 11, is this experiential stream. And it just wants to have its aha moments and come to these realizations. One is mired in the past. One is looking into the future. And that leads us to the last one, which is 24 to 43, straight down. It goes right through that crisscross. Notice 24 and 43, there's no crossing over. It has to go right through that crisscross that's happening inside the mind, inside the ajna concept center. And this is about knowing. And 4's fear is that it won't come up with the right rationalization. It won't be able to figure out. The fear it won't know the answer, be able to properly explain itself. Mental anxiety over solving the mysteries and solving the mysteries to life. Did you write this stuff, Savannah? It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so gate 24 is called the return.
Sorry. Can I make a comment about gate 17?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So it's almost like they feel this pressure that they have to like explain themselves, right? Like why because my sister has gate 17, and so, but it says it's like they can go into like over explaining themselves, or it can go the other way around where they're scared to share their opinions because the fear of it is the fear of challenge, like someone challenging their logical opinions, right? And
what if they don't have what it takes to back it up and they look stupid? They're afraid of looking stupid.
Fear of looking stupid. Yeah. And so I've also noticed that so gate 17 is logical and gate 11 is experiential. And so, and so sometimes those 2 gates can kind of maybe a little bit butt heads, like in a relationship, because gate 17, he sees things in a very like logical, mathematical way, like this plus this equals this, right? But then gate 11 is kind of the opposite of that. It's like, no, my experience was like this. And so it tends to not be. So I've just heard of in relationships.
11 doesn't need facts.
Yeah.
17 needs facts. 11 doesn't need any facts. That's not
11 just needs experience.
Right. Yeah. And it gets its experience. It will one way or another get it. So yeah, no, absolutely. All these
experiences will give you facts.
They sure will. And in fact, nothing ends up being a fact without the understanding on one side and the experience on the other. We don't get to actually know it until we figured it out mentally and then experienced it physically.
Yeah. So sometimes I think of gate 17 as kind of like very scientific in a way that it's like, okay, this is the logical pattern. Like everyone fit in this pattern. And if it doesn't, then it's not, I don't believe it. It's not supported. Right. But then you can have someone with gate 11 that's like, hey, I had this experience. It didn't fit in your logical pattern. So, what you're saying is crap, so sometimes that's how they can butt heads with each
Well,
other.
a community of Gate 17 scientists helped put it all into motion when it got us to the moon, but it was always an individual, usually always an individual like Einstein with a Gate 11 that had the idea that, hey, space folds and planets fold around the space and space folds around gravity. Oops.
Oops.
Oops. Sorry, I added to the what you need to now know. And he was right. That all came out of an idea that was rooted in nothing but a sudden realization for the pressure of confusion that is almost like magic. It's like God gives this to us because, in a sense, and the fates and the universe gives this to us because we have no choice. Einstein had no choice but to come up with a theory of relativity, and he had this whole channel, and he was a teacher.
Yeah.
Design of a teacher, and a 5-1.
So sometimes Gate 11 is challenging the logical patterns that have been established in society. They are challenging it.
Yep. And that's what 17 would fear the 11. It's like, hey, don't experience, just let me have my little vacuum way, because I'm identifying with this narrow set of things that I've come up with a formula on. The formula was vast, but it narrowed down. And the ideas are like, hey, we stayed vast. We came in with our epiphany out of Gate 47 that suddenly turned oppressive confusion into a realization, the greatest thing ever. And now 11 literally can expand that out even further. 11 is looking for expansion. 17 is looking for a form of contraction. They're both logical in that sense. It's logical that Gate 11's experience can expand. It's logical that Gate 17's formula narrows in on how to make the trains run on time. Whatever. We need that. We need them both.
Yeah. I one time I was talking with one of my friends and she was like, I am struggling, like getting along with my son. Because she had Gate 11 and she was more kind of experiential and I guess you could say a little bit kind of like woo woo. Some people call like woo spiritual. I love woo woo. Don't get me wrong. I got Gate 11 too. But then her son was Gate 17, but she kept in his son. And so she kept trying to share these like experiential, more like woo-woo mystical things with him. And he just wasn't having it, and so it was creating this friction in their relationship. So I looked at his chart and I'm like, okay, well, he has Gate 17 in his son. So he is more logically minded. So yeah, he probably won't be very open to a lot of like the things that you're interested in.
Last night's couple, there was the difference between 11 in one of them and 17 in the other, exactly what you're saying. And it worked out exactly along those lines that you just mentioned. Exactly. Yeah. One was like, maybe, and my idea. And the other was like, well, logically, I don't know. And so their inside voices were saying that to themselves, and they would butt heads with all of that in certain ways. And when I was able to point out, look, there's no choice in any of that. There's no choice, so
that's why I think it's so helpful, right? Human design is so helpful because it helps explain why someone thinks in a certain more logical way and why someone thinks more experiential and is into woo-woo and mystical and we need them both. They're both very important, but it can also explain why we just need to be understanding of other people if they can't see things in our certain way, that's why I think human design, it just helps us understand each other. And so once I explained this to my friend, she was like, oh, she's trying to force something to be a certain way and for him to accept her and her ideas and the way she's thinking. But it's just not going to happen, right? Like that's his circuitry. His circuitry is to be a certain way. And so
it's what it is.
Jennifer, she stopped butting her head against a brick wall and the resistance and just, so it improved their relationship through just understanding his Gate 17 and his son and her Gate 11. And so anyway, that was a tangent. Okay.
Jennifer has something to say.
No, I'm now curious what the center channel is doing.
The center channel is what's mutating us all and empowering everything in the first place. No center channel, no life. We would be at odds, monkeys and trees fighting with each other between ideas and opinions. So 24 is in the individual circuitry. So far, we've been all in the collective circuitry. Remember the keynote for the collective. It's impersonal. It wants to share. Let me share my bad idea with you. Let me share my good idea with you. Let me share my, let me share my war with you. Let me share my peace with you. Let me share all of it, right? So
Mm.
it just needs to share. It's not quite personal. It's not until you get to the center awareness that it gets personal. You get to, go ahead.
I was going to say, what channel is that? You said the outer ones were the collective.
Yeah, 4 down to 17. So the channel of logic going down to the channel of acceptance would be.
These just for our viewers, so they know that the outer channels are for the collective.
Yep.
And then the inner ones.
Inner channel, singular, well, you're right, 2 channels. The one above that comes from 61. If you want to go to the other graph, you could probably see it more clearly. Real quick.
Yeah,
61 goes down to 24, and then 43 goes down to 23 in the body graph in the throat center. So it's a straight line right down the center. It cuts right through that crisscross that goes into that's coming from the collective awareness. So collective keynote says we need to share. Individual keynote says I need to empower. I am empowered or not. And the collective is, again, going through the ajna. It's over all of time, and it's just constantly working away over all of time. The individual holds on to it over all of time, but it doesn't show up until it's a pulse. It shows up in a pulse. We can't know until the knowing knows us. The knowing tells us. We don't know. We experience the knowing, and then suddenly in a moment we know. And we go from knowing to not knowing, or from not knowing to knowing in a flash. It's a pulse. That's the frequency of this. It gets held on over these pulses are held on to over all of time through the frequency of the Ajna Center, but the individual circuitry itself is looking to empower this. Remember, the individual circuitry touches all the centers in the body graph. None of the other circuitries do that.
Which is the center line, guys.
Yep.
That's the individual circuitry that he's talking about. This is the outer lines. See how it crosses over?
Yep.
I'm just trying to give a deeper explanation because if they don't know what the circuitry is.
You just did a perfect job of it. Yep.
Yes.
It crosses
the
over.
The outer lines, which is helping the collective.
Right. So, and the collective is so important. It's just the collective wasn't meant to truly usurp the tribe, and it's trying to. And this is where lots of confusion comes in. Yeah. The pecking order is very simple. The individual is the most important thing. The individual empowers the tribe. The tribe makes the babies and keeps us all safe. And collectively, all the tribes commune, and there's our collective. It's in that order. It's a very simple pecking order. We've currently got that order backwards. And no wonder we're all messed up on this planet. And waking up and straightening out, actually. So I guess I have to appreciate all of that in its own sense. But 24 is rationalizing the mystery of the doubt from 61. 61 puts, not doubt, the mystery of 61. 61 is a pressure to just go from what you didn't know to make it something you do know. Just whatever. And mysteries come in out of nowhere. They just show up. It's a mystery. And suddenly you're under a pressure to come up with a rationale for that. It's called knowing. 24 wants to know. And 24 goes straight down to 43, and 43 wants to explain its insights. It wants to have its breakthrough moments. All of these are aha moments, by the way. 847's effect.
I did that earlier when Savannah was talking about the switch over, and I had that insight. The 53, I had to immediately get it out.
Yep. Gate 47's oppressive coming to realization is riddled throughout all of the ajna. Gate 24's rationalizing and coming to knowing is riddled throughout all the gates are vibrating each other in the ajna all over the place. And if anything, the least powerful is the logical stream, because it's always got to fight for energy. You know, the logical stream has always got to fight across the grain until it puts its logical pattern into place. And that's why it must be identified, because logic requires us to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat until it finally takes hold. That's a lot of work. But 43 and 24. So 24, the individual process of the return. Look at 24 on here. You see the return. That's what they called it in the I Ching, the gate of rationalizations. And it's a fear that it's ignorant. It just doesn't know. It's a fear of just simply, I can't know. Fear you won't be able to know. You won't have the answer. You won't be able to properly explain yourself down below. Mental anxiety over basically knowing the mystery, solving the mystery, coming to grips with the mystery. and this incessant return over and over again. If you have a gate 24 hanging in your body graph, you just want people to be quiet, please. I'm trying to return to the mystery. If you have the whole channel, you very often want people to just, I need silence.
Yes.
Silence.
My sister-in-law has the 24 up, the whole channel, and she has the 43 down to 23. And she's a mom, and she just says all the time, like, she almost has this like sensory sensitivity to noise, and it just irritates her. And so isn't it something like just quiet or like music? Doesn't music help with
Any kind of
824?
white noise, any kind of white noise will help. Music counts as white noise if it's something you let sit into the background. Then it just becomes, I mean, it's not actually white noise, but any kind of repetitive thing that you can tune into. Someone speaking a lecture. Oh, I'll listen to this lecture. That's great for you. Or the quiet and the din of nature outside, away from others, or even traffic. You could do that way in your car, leave the window or whatever. You hear the hum of your car. That can be soothing.
I bet you. So I've recently seen a lot of people doing, I think it's called the ASMR. It's the sounds or whatever. I bet you that they have this gate is why they're doing it, because it's white noise. It's background noise.
It's background stuff, or 24 would like to be fully engaged in what its rationale is seeking. Its rationale is seeking the answer and the awareness of gate 61's pressure to become aware. And it can't have it until the pulse comes along, the individual pulse.
When you say pressure from the head center, is that like from the root too?
No,
like
the root will pressure us, but the pressure. See, here's the thing. Look at the head and ajna as its own little separate thing, separate from the rest of the body in a way.
Well, what I mean, like the pressure to do something, is it different between an open and a define?
Absolutely, it'll be different, and yet the same. Because no matter what, open or not, it's the pressure to inspire yourself, to be inspired, to hear something inspiring, and to then turn that into a new knowing. If it's a gate 24, it's the pressure to translate our existence. So if your head center is defined, you're constantly working on that translation. You're the little editor in the background. You're the Morse code guy, clicking out the messages, from your submarine day in and day out. If you're defined, if you're open, you're receiving all of that and you're letting it pour through to determine what inspiration is right for you. The open head center lets it pour through so that it can find what's right for him or her. But the open head center has a not self theme of trying to think about too many things. Ultimately, it ends up being things that don't matter. That's what the open head center does. It's thinking about too many things and creating incredible pressure on this ajna to come up with concepts it's not ready to come up with.
Okay.
The ajna works at it. Again, we're not in charge of it.
Right.
The ajna works at its own pace. We can witness it. It can work quickly, but we're not actually in charge of it. Our chemistry is. And these are codons. This is a genetic working. It's a matrix of genetic workings inside our body that we're not in charge of. It's in charge of us. That's why we're all witnessing that we're the watcher. And the more we watch ourselves do the things, the greater communion we have with ourselves. The more we stop beating ourselves up for not being certain things that we in the past thought we were supposed to be. I promise you, everyone on this panel thinks we're supposed to be richer than we are right now. So, but we can't beat ourselves up over it. All we can do is keep plodding along. So gate 24 is just fear of ignorance. The fear of not knowing can totally take you off track. But when you allow the return to just do what it does, it's returning. What'd you return to? I don't know. I'm returning. Aha, I got it. I returned to what I now know. Hey, how did you know that? I don't know. It showed up in a pulse. And that's where gate 43 is hungry. It's hungry to spit out the insight. God, it'll do anything to spit out that insight and to have its breakthrough moment because it's in the individual circuitry. Gate 43 might as well be called sharing as well, because all it wants to do is empower the other. You and I both have that. It just wants to empower the other with its new insight. Insight is a great big deal. Look what 43 says it's doing, breaking through the gate of insight. And its big fear is that insight will not be challenged, but it'll be rejected. If you challenge the insight, now it's in the game. Oh yeah, you challenge me, let's talk. But if you reject it, oh shoot, I've got no one to empower. And it's afraid of that.
I see that when I first had my awakening and okay, going through truth and investigating, even with the state national thing, I was trying to tell my aunt about it. And, I get really passionate about it, but boy, no, rejection came in and I just zip.
And you were mad and it didn't feel good in your body. A version of tied up.
Before, yes, it does. It aggravates me. And what aggravates me is I just really want to just, wake the person up is what I want to do. But I do. I experience the frustration coming through. And then I get in my head where I'm like, am I not explaining myself correctly? Do I need to take a step back and maybe approach the situation a little bit different? But especially when it comes to, like, for me, spreading truth and stuff like that, that fear of rejection. Yeah, I can see it.
Wait, because I have gate 43. I know Dan does. So you have it too, Jen? Gate 43. Oh, okay, cool. And it's all hanging for all of us.
Yeah,
correct?
It's hanging on mine, and mine is conscious.
It's hanging on mine. It's both conscious and unconscious, and it's got no outlet to the other side.
Yeah, mine's hanging and it's conscious. I think it's in my Jupiter. But yeah, and I've experienced the exact same thing, this fear of rejection, fear of being seen weird, different, being judged, just wanting to be accepted, but then they just judge you and shoot you down. And so, yeah, I feel like gate 11 and gate 43 are similar in that way, where it has to do with like sharing insight, sharing ideas. And so I feel like I have fear of rejection, like big time, like, and it sucks because rejection hurts. And so anyways, but knowing this, I feel like kind of takes the sting away a little bit of it's like, okay, like that's why I do what I do. And
right.
Well, when it happens, it's not us. It's just the chemistry. But yeah, no, I have both of them too, Savannah, so I can really relate with a lot of what you're saying.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have it and it doesn't even connect to the other side. So my breakthrough was a desperate act. And if people rejected it, I went back at them. Well, what do you mean? I would bring them new stuff. I would go back at them later. I would, because I was.
No,
look. How about now? And I've driven people crazy with that. I've driven.
Well, but Dan, but isn't gate 23 on the connects? That's what bridges your split, right? So is that why it would?
So I try to act out what I'm not. Gate 23 is always there to finally metamorphically take all that noise. So the two outside streams are the left eye and the right eye. They're our vision. The inside stream, this is the ear. It's our third ear, is this inside stream. And it has everything to do with sound. It's always it's this acoustic nature going right down the center. And it's acoustic, so we can't make sense of it yet. There's nothing to make sense of until the acoustics clear up and suddenly there's an insight. And that insight wants to have its breakthrough moment because it's dying to empower the other. It's like Bart Simpson, Dad, look what I found, Dad, and just, it's like Bart and Lisa poking at Dad, trying to make Dad pay attention. And that's what it feels like, is you just want it to break through because look at what 43 says it does. It's this unique perspective. It's not just the ideas, it's the ideas and the opinions all poured into this very unique doing what the individual does. The individual is always a freak at first because they're too unique. Remember, it's a pulse. So 4 and 4, the outside streams are dealing with stuff that already is in the world in one way, shape, or form. There's aspects of it already there. And so logically, the train stopped working. I logically need to make them work again. Hey, I had ideas about stuff from the past, meaning it was in the world and I'm bringing it forward and I got new ideas now. So this is all stuff that we've already seen in one way, shape, or form. They come to new realizations, true, but they come to it most uniquely through this individual stream of awareness, which it wasn't there, and then it is. So it's always new. It's new on the plane, and it's the individual definition that takes the other two streams of awareness and makes it mutative. It's the individual circuitry going right through from 61 all the way down through 2443 down into the throat and manifests itself out into something 61 all the way down to 43, all the way down. It manifests, and if you go all the way down, it manifests and generates something brand spanking new. The tribe and the collective don't like that. The collective definitely doesn't like that. Don't give me too new, because I'm just dealing with the ideas I had from before and the logical stuff I need to identify with into the future. You bring something new and that changes all of that. Why do you think Klaus Schwab wants, in the economic forum, wants to silence us all? Because we have creative new stuff, and it shows up so unpredictably. We can't predict it.
Yeah.
Again, it's a definition of creation. If you look at it biblically, creation. God said, "Let there be light." Right? We started. This individual awareness is like, there's a mystery. I don't know, and in a flash, I know. That's creation. That's creation, and it tugs everything with it into explanation, and that explanation is mutative. And if it cannot empower and mutate the other, it has failed.
Yeah.
Literally.
I also remember reading Gate 43. They call it the, they say like, oh, the third eye. It's your third ear.
Third ear.
So the third ear is able to kind of like listen to that inner knowing, that higher self, soul, whatever God source you want to call it. It's kind of tuned in and sense it. It can hear that the higher self, you could say, the insight from the higher self, and then trying to get that out to the collective to change, mutate, evolve the collective as a whole. But again, people don't like change. People like the same. So Gate 43, they get known as like the freaks, and they get rejected. And so that's why the genius to freak, that's part of that channel, the 4323. And so once I understood that, I was like, oh, okay. Like, I guess it's not bad to be a freak, right? Like,
it's genius to freak, and it's freak to genius, because it comes out, someone will come up to it and be like, hey, I was having this thing, and all of a sudden the freakiness that's inside your head, freakiness just means unique. It's so unique that it's brand new, and it seems odd and different to the other because it's brand new. And it's literally taking that freakiness inside your head and suddenly spitting out this explanation to the other. Oh, dear Lord, you're a genius. Thank you. And Einstein had that whole channel, by the way, so he knew. So, I think he had that whole channel. I better go check. But
I know the founder of Human Design had that whole channel, the 4323. He had
the And so when you have that whole channel, that's the channel of explanation. You're here to explain stuff.
And aren't they always saying,
that's downloaded apparently, because his was all from the voice.
Yep, quite literally. And
so that's literally
what
we were just talking about.
Right, Jennifer. Magic happens here, and you said it right, Savannah. Call it some kind of God frequency comes through this inner ear because it's listening. And when it hears the right thing, suddenly it can take everything that was ever collective and its new individual unique knowing, and it can mutate and bring the new thing into the world. Sometimes they're little new things. Sometimes they're great big new things. Human design is one of them, brought to us by a freak.
Yeah.
Who became a genius.
Yeah.
Freak to genius basically was his trajectory. That was a trajectory.
Yeah.
So it empowers the other. Ra would have never been able to finish his job had he not been empowering the other. Had it fallen on deaf ears, he would have given up.
Well, it's frustrating because, I think a lot of people, especially in the awakening community, when I woke up and I wanted to share or tell people, and it was like, some of the stuff that comes out of my mouth or what comes through, it's people are not ready for it. So it is that rejection, and you just get to a point of if no one's listening, then there's no point in me sharing it. It's kind of
that's all
futile.
True. Yep, it becomes futile. You'll recognize on this picture all of these not self themes that are the fears that you hang on to rather than just experience.
Yes.
So if I just rattle them all off: futility, ignorance, fear of the challenge of your opinions, can't rationalize, fear of chaos. My ideas went dark. So darkness, chaos, rejection, challenge, futility, ignorance. Picture all of this going on as a giant mental soup that's got a frequency that holds on to that mental soup over all of time. We really need to break this frequency up.
Yes,
We need to break it up so that the frequency of mind holds on to over all of time is it holds on to the moment. It doesn't hold on to it as something true in the next moment.
We'll be sure to really touch base on this in the retreat we're doing when we get to the mental section.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna have to, so that people can become aware of this. But if you go back to the other picture now, let's watch how the mind rains hellfire down on our other awareness. Just look.
Dan, I was gonna say, I know like in yogic philosophy they talk about like becoming the observer of your thoughts, not attaching to the thoughts, right? We don't have to believe every single thought that like goes through our head. We get to choose like what belief systems we want to hold on to, and that's, you know, and so I think that's kind of what the Ajna Center, the fears of the Ajna is like. Okay, are you holding on to that fear? Is it stopping you from doing certain things in your life? You know, just realizing like, am I succumbing to that fear? Am I letting this fear?
Notice, and we're talking, none of this is relative to whether it's defined in your body graph or open. We're just talking about the pure fears and what this Ajna Center is supposed to do for us. It's simply supposed to measure this and that. Stop, go, left, right, you know, up, down. It just measures. That's all mind is here to do.
I love that.
So you're going to say how it comes down from the pressure center and goes to the other centers in the body. Is that what you were saying, Dan?
Just
real quick, because Savannah brought up a good point that I can insert here, because she brought up the Vedic philosophy, which is true. And that's exactly why we have a mindfulness program here too, guys, to help you with this, because mindfulness is another tool that you can realize that you are not your thoughts. All these things that are happening up here, we can get you to a point to where you're just observing and not attaching it and reacting out of the fear, and then you're not self-theme and stuff. So self-promo, but I do want to self-promo some of the stuff that we have, because
make sure you book your session. Don't wait, man. Book this stinking session so I can get to you.
And then we can actually pair this with a mindfulness course
all day long. So look at this Ajna Center and just look at it like as if it were a military position. You got the forces down below on low ground, and you've got all these cannons above on the high ground, raining lead and burning fire down on the awareness below and destroying it over and over again. It's like the Golan Heights, you know, near Jerusalem. It's just look at it that way for a moment so you can start to see, you know, this thing sits above it all and is constantly raining down its not self onto all of us. It's fear of its uncertainty. It's fear of its ignorance. It's chaos. It's raining its chaos down on us over and over again. It's raining its ignorance down on us over and over again. And it's raining its horrible frequency of holding on to everything that sucked over all of time. It's holding on to it at all. And it rains it down and pollutes this emotional solar plex, which is just supposed to be a wave that anybody can experience with the other. Jen, I can experience your wave with you, you know, and if our minds got in the way, suddenly that becomes tension and break things apart. Spleen. Oh, that poor spleen. It's so weak compared to the mind. You know, the mind rains down. It's holding on to over all of time, all of the things that it didn't like. And suddenly it drowns out the spleen, and the spleen's instant awareness goes dark. I mean, it's still there, but it can't be heard because the mind is too loud and too noisy. It's not calm. It's not doing what Savannah was just talking about, letting the thoughts flow through.
Yes, exactly. That's where mindfulness has really helped me, especially with like, that's why I say a lot of the stuff that y'all are bringing up, I can still see it in me, but because I practice mindfulness so much that, you know, I'm able to bring the awareness and see it. It's like a scrolling banner, just watch go on by. And the more that I apply that, I'm able to really see this at work and happening.
Right. Right. It's just a truism. It's how
You're,
things work.
you're not your mind. There's so much that goes on in your head. Some of it's, I feel like we're pulling collectively, like the energy is coming in from a big pool of thoughts.
That's what's happening. We're in the field. That's exactly what's happening.
That's why Nikola Tesla started patenting his stuff, because the stuff that he was getting, another guy was getting on the exact opposite of the world. And there wasn't like, I'm going to send an email, or he saw it on a video or something like that. But, he knew that the information was coming through one way, shape, or form.
Guys, we're all connected. It's an illusion that we're truly separate and separated fully. We're not fully separated. We're living out these separate existences in this lifetime for each of us, but there's a connection. Everything is connected to everything else. It's impossible that it not be. And you add that into our human awareness, and you start to realize this Ajna is not meant to plague us with its problems over all of time. It's meant to pass through them and do what the gates have their names to do. They come up with formulas. They figure out the rationale. That's what's knowable in the now. And they have these beautiful aha moments that then turn into great ideas, beautiful insights, and cool opinions that work logically into the future, from the past through the present into the future. That's all the center is supposed to do. Measure this movement, measure our movement, and measure things literally. I need 2 inches of this. Okay, well, my mind's great. I can see what 2 inches is on the tape measure, and I can use a calculator. That's all mind is. It's just a calculator. That's all it is. It's a beautiful calculator. It's a toy box. It can come up and calculate anything. It's an advanced super calculator. But that's all it is a calculator. Our emotional awareness is what's waking us up to the beauty and glory of what we are. Our splenic awareness is what lets us survive instinctually in the moment as ourselves. And our individuality is what lets us be ourselves in communion with the other, with our spiritful and our love moving in the right direction. This is our purpose here, not the freaking mind that says, oh, I got this problem, that problem, this problem, this problem, that problem, and it holds on to it over all of time, polluting the rest of the awareness.
Yes. And it gets you stuck.
Stuck in our head. We're all stuck in our head here and there. The more we decondition, the less we're stuck in our head, but we live in a world that's stuck in its head.
Yeah. Makes me think it's self-sabotage. Like
it is. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or self-limiting beliefs and self-sabotaging ourselves with our self-limiting beliefs.
I can say so many times that gate 43 and gate 11 has prevented me, or I self-sabotage in moving forward, especially in my business. There was a lot of things where I would spend so much time, I want to share this, but then I'm like, no, the collective's not ready, so I'm going to be quiet behind it. So yes, lots of limiting beliefs coming up, shadow aspects, and holding on to, so many of us have experienced trauma through our lives in younger years. Imagine all the stuff that's being hung on to in there.
That's the thing I keep dealing with, people in trauma responses. And if we think about it, much of our mindfulness or hypnotherapy and guided yoga and meditation, all of these practices are there trying to get at these old wounds, wounding, and this generational wounds that we hang on to and so forth. Our mind could wash that all away. The beautiful calculator could make that go away in a snap as it wakes up, and suddenly it's all dealt with.
Speaking from experience through my sexual trauma as a young, there's moments, but it was a lot of work in the headspace up here for me to even get to a point to where I could look at it and analyze it without such an emotional charge. That's it. A lot of people have trouble like reviewing, PTSD and past trauma, depending on how severe it is. It's the emotional charge. And now that I am saying it, I'm wondering how many people have a defined solar plexus compared to people who have trauma with the undefined. Because it was a vicious cycle of me staying stuck in that hamster wheel, because the mind was triggering the emotions and the emotions were triggering the mind.
All dirty. It triggers it all dirty and not clean anymore. And
it made me run to use substances so that I could just get it to stop.
Yep. For me, it was love affairs. My little vessel would fall in love, and then suddenly we'd break up, and I would be broken up. And by about the seventh one in my whole lifetime, you know, I suddenly realized, I realized what my mind was holding on to. It was constantly holding on to that it was supposed to last forever. Well, as soon as it didn't last forever, my mind realized how to break that up. I disorganized the grip of a broken love affair upon my life. Before, it would grip me for forever. I'd hang on to it forever. I'd be focused on it every day, trying to come up with my insights and breakthroughs as to how I would explain it to the other person so that we'd get back together. Whatever. Yeah, right. What a laugh, Jennifer. It's so funny as I look back on it.
Everything that we talked about today, yeah, I could totally relate. And I love all the different scenarios that we gave. So,
Yep. So,
it's a mind fuck.
Well, it's this mind that is constantly dragging us down into all of these mind fears that are all logical fears. They're all good to have. You're just supposed to let them pass through. Maybe it is futile, so give up. Maybe you can't break through. Hey, the timing wasn't right. So
maybe that's how they came up with the term fear, because it's false expectations appearing real. It's false expectations.
Well, that's one way when we hold on to it, but in the moment, the fear is completely reasonable, logical, and it builds the awareness. Fear drives awareness. Fear drives awareness, along with a few other things. Love drives awareness, but fear drives awareness, all kinds of great awareness. We're supposed to have it. It's part of the experience, and we want to somehow mitigate it so much that there will never be another fear. Can't have that. That's not in the cards. That's not what we're supposed to be. So I make a prayer to the Ajna Center to leave us alone finally one day and do your job. Be the super calculator that you are and come up with your aha moments and leave us the hell alone.
Well, it is the third eye. You don't want your third eye to leave you alone.
No, I want it to stop plaguing us as it holds on to stuff. It's our third ear and it hears just fine. Think about what you heard in the moment you heard it. Do you hear it a moment later? No, it went by. These words are evaporating into the ether right now. Luckily, we recorded them, but once you say it, that's the leaving alone. I'm saying, hey, you said it already. Okay, now leave us alone.
Yes,
that's what I mean.
loved it. I loved going over the Ajna, and I feel like it's so helpful in understanding ourselves and improving our mental health and helping us understand each other. I just feel like this is like such life-changing information that so many people need. So thank you, Dan.
Yes, thank you guys.
Talking about this today, I loved it.
Yep.
Yes, we have one comment from Banshee that I would like to touch on. She put, I wonder also how much the literal physical toxification of the physical organs of the body can create or
exacerbate
an imbalance expression of these gates. And I would say it absolutely does play a part.
I couldn't imagine how it wouldn't play a part. Yeah.
Banshee, we are actually, make sure that you check out the retreat because we will be going over the physical section. And I've been talking Dan's ear off. I've even talked to Savannah about it. I'm investigating a parasite cleanse right now, just physically, and it has been absolutely life-changing. So we're going to be touching about that because I do believe that, your physical is going to start to affect everything else that's happening in your body, all your different organs, your mind. Like you are what you eat junky food, you're going to have shitty thoughts.
Yep.
So
you can still transcend it. This mind of ours is so powerful, even crappy food and calcification, and unless it's totally calcified, but I mean, we're so powerful. We can even transcend what the wicked are trying to do to our food and our water and everything. But we want it out of our life. We want it out. Get a water purifier, a big 4-barrel Canon water purifier that takes everything out of the water.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But we'll have a whole section on that in the retreat. Lots of things were brought up that we're going to be doing.
Book your session, guys. Book your session. Let me read for you. Book it. There's a booking page. There's a thing linked to this video, as I recall.
There's all sorts of links. The link, like you showed me, there's all sorts of links. So make sure you check out the description. Book your session with Dan. Definitely, if you have not already, or even if you have questions, make sure to send them out. And for those of you who may not be able to, you're on the fence, you don't know if you want to do a whole session, we are going to be coming out with onboarding calls that are going to be free, just to touch base with you and let you know what we have going on. So stay tuned for that. You can always go to the tinyurl.com/HDA links, LINKS. It will be there. Just to wrap this up, make sure that you don't forget that we have a virtual retreat, 5-day virtual free retreat for you. We're going to talk about how you can balance the 4 key areas of your life: mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional. That's coming up 10/24. It's got a bunch of really good information coming to you. It's one of my favorite classes to do. It's going to be tweaked, though, because Dan's doing it with me, and we're going to be bringing in HDA. Don't forget that we also have a mindful eating through your human design class coming up in November. And me and Dan we're lots of things are going to be coming to you in November. So just stay tuned. If you haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show. And yeah, give us some feedback. Let us know what you guys think of this video, what you would like to see, and if you need help with anything, don't hesitate to reach out.
Cool.
Anything else?
Anything else, Savannah?
Oh, nope. I'm awesome. I loved it. Thanks,
Yep,
guys.
I think we did really well.
Savannah, before you pop off, can you stay on for like 5 more minutes?
Yeah. Okay, yeah,
Okay.
I'll stay.
All right. Thanks, guys. We will talk
Bye,
to
everyone.
you later and see you. Oh, we're doing Tulsi
Gabbard on Sunday.
Tulsi Gabbard
on Wednesday.
On Wednesday night. So tune in for that.
Tulsi, we're going to pull her apart. I love her. I think she's going to work out pretty good.
All right. Can't wait for you to dive into that one. All right, guys. Happy Sunday, and we will see you later. Bye now.
Bye.